my mother taught me that you should always try to put yourself in the other person's position. That's the only way you can deal with people, when you understand who they are. And for me, luckily, I've grown up, so I understand the time I was just a statistics, the time I was ignored, how I felt, how humiliated. And so throughout my career, be it staff, be it government ministers that I've worked with, when I talk to them, I talk to them the way I would have wanted somebody to talk to me.
As a social activist, Zainab Bangura expands horizons of positive change. She believes that poverty is the worst form of human rights violation and that getting out of poverty requires education first, education second, and then the sky is the limit. Thank you for joining Lynn Foley, host of Remarkable Women, Powerful Stories, as we hear from Zainab about her journey.
I come from a background where both my parents were illiterate. They never went to school. It's a rural life, poor. I actually come from a village where when I was born, there was no hospital, there was no school, there was no tap water, there was no modern toilet facility. My mother's generation, because imagine I'm 65, so you can imagine my mother. My mother's generation, only boys were allowed to go to school in the community in which she was born and grew up. But at some point, because she was smart, she was taken to the city, to the capital city, as a house help. So she was exposed to a city life where girls were given opportunity. And so she lived in this environment where she saw girls her age. While she's working, these girls were going to school. And so she saw the difference very early between them and her. And so it instilled something in her brain to say, okay, if I grow up, I have a child, I will make sure the child gets an education, because she knows that the reason she's where she is, where she was because she was not educated. She got married. Interestingly, because she grew up in the city, she met somebody, different ethnic group, educated, and they got married. But she couldn't settle down. It was not possible. She couldn't fit in because he had a different life, educated another ethnic group, and his families did not appreciate my mom. My mom saw that a lot was demanded from her, which she couldn't give. So she made up the decision to leave that relationship. Then she met my father, who was a Muslim cleric, and they got married. And of course, he didn't believe in the education of the girl child. So remember my mother. And I thought, because my mother didn't have me early, imagine she had a first marriage, then second married. My mother decided that she would get me to have an education. My father, a Muslim cleric, was against it. So, and she wasn't able to have other children. I was an only child. So she made the decision that my father asked her to make a choice. He literally said no. So my mother said, I'm not prepared to sacrifice my daughter, because she understood the only way the poverty could leave her was if she has a girl, a child who is educated. She has a daughter. I was a carbon copy of my mother. So she made that decision, the choice. My father said, okay, pack your bag. And he left. So my mother moved me from the city originally at some age, went to the village, but she insisted I get an education. She enrolled me in school, and she made me believe that this poverty we have is temporal. We can leave it behind us if you get an education. And the education is like a golden key. Once you get it, the sky is your limit. She sort of made me understand that the only way you can move forward in life is by being educated. And she invested everything she had in my life, and she made me believe that. So that's for me, that was the thing that really helped me to be able to understand. If I had not, because as I speak to you now, 70-80% of my families are below the poverty line. I still describe myself as the village girl, because I still have not left it.
Mm.
I go back and forth because that's where my seeds were sown, you know. So
Mm.
I see the extreme poverty in my community. One of the first thing I did when I built my house in the village, it became the villagers' house. They would just come and look at it and really and truly appreciate it and felt so proud. It was not my house, it was their house. So
Mm.
a child belongs to the village. So
Mm.
for me, those are so I understood those pain and difficult and challenges, but I saw the difference it made in my life. My community I come from is very traditional. Women still cannot be leaders. They
Mm.
cannot be traditional leaders, whereas the level of discrimination is still deep rooted. But
Mm.
when I became Minister of Foreign Affairs, I was making the decision in that community. I was
Mm.
deciding what needs to be done. So I was able to witness the transformation
Yep.
that education was able to do in my life and in my community.
So, as you speak about your mother so passionately and that really transformational role she had in your life and inspiration, were there other aspects in your childhood on top of the education and how she got you to be educated that has also made a difference for you?
Oh, yes. We were best friends. I was an only child.
Mm.
We were best friends. We were like sisters. And she instilled in me her values, her beliefs, you know. She was my moral compass, the things that you cannot do. She was my inspiration. Her determination and guardians helped me.
Mm.
You know, I remember I was talking to her. I say, my mother tells me when you fall down, don't fall on your face, fall on your back so you can see the sky. And then you can know you have a long way to go. She made me believe that nothing is impossible.
Mm.
The sky was my limit. She instilled in me that you can be somebody. You have to want it, but you have to work for it. You have to be determined. You cannot look right. You don't look left. When you want something, just move ahead and do whatever you can. Don't take second position. This is what
Mm.
you want. So I grew up, even at elementary school and high school, I never sit on the second row.
Mm.
You know, when I in class, people know me up to today. I go, I sit in front. My mother
Yep.
said, just listen. Don't accept it. People don't need to love you, but they will respect you. So for
Yep.
people to respect you, you have to be on top of everything. And you can do it. Just believe. So she instilled that in me for me to believe nothing is impossible.
It seems to me you've had a number of key turning points, places where your life took a turn, better or worse, but it took a turn. I'm wondering if and your focus went through activism, leadership, and the transformational change you've made for women. Can you identify and expand on a few of those key turning points for me today?
Because I come from a very poor background, I understood the pain and humiliation of poverty. I learned that when you're poor, you don't have a voice. You're just a statistics.
Mm.
And so for me, what my mother embedded in me, that we should do everything to leave this poverty behind us. So right at university, when I was about finishing university, of course, you have to choose a career. I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to the financial sector because I needed to take care of my mom. I need to have a life for myself. But the financial sector, I wouldn't go to the bank because I realize that when you want work with a bank, you don't leave until you balance your books. And I have to think
Yes.
about my family. When do I go
Mm.
home? So my mother taught me to be very strategic, that every decision you make, you have to look at the consequences, how long it takes you, what is being affected, what do you the input. So I made the decision, I went to the financial sector. And I got there and I realized that the ladder was very long, but everybody in that institution has a first degree.
Mm.
So I said to myself, that ambition she built in me, I said to myself, I need to get to the top. The way this ladder is going, I don't think I'll get there for the next 20 years. So, and I realized that insurance, I went to the insurance industry. Insurance was a new, in the third world country, it's not like banking. People were not very familiar with it. And I said, how do I get to the top? So, which means I need to qualify in insurance. And I found it. I was asked to go to Liberia. There was a course in Liberia, a 1-year diploma course. But I realized if I use that route, it will take me much longer. So I chose the route to Nottingham University. By the time I finish the year, I'll have 10 exemptions out of the 14 papers you need to qualify as a fellow. And I took that route. I went, I came. So, of course, I was fast-tracked. You know, then I joined the insurance industry. The company I was in, I looked at it, is the oldest company. They were so set. There were number of people, and I moved to a new company, and automatically I became like number 2.
Yep.
Then, of course, as I told you, my mother was my friend, was my sister, was my everything. I spent a lot of time with her, but more time was working. And then she died. You know, it's a long story. And and then all of a sudden it dawned on me that I was my rural background, my literacy level. So when I went, by that time I'd met my husband, we were not married, and I had to go to the funeral. He came with his friends, and the tradition doesn't allow it. He cannot participate in the funeral. So I said, why? I seem to have forgotten where I came from. And they said, you're not married, you cannot, you're Muslim. So I said, okay, what do I do? They said, well, you have to get married. I left my mom's corpse. Muslim marriage is easy. We went to the mosque, I got married, and I gave my husband the right. But the pain I felt, and I said, no. This is not possible. This was a man who abandoned us, who left us. My mother struggled for me. Now he has a say, how? So I went to the city to ask questions. And it turned out my country says everybody is equal before the law, says the Constitution. But at the same time, the Constitution recognizes traditional, cultural, and religious law. So I was told, because of where I come from, my region, they practice traditional laws. And because we were Muslim, so what my father did was right. So I said, what can I do? So the lady in UNDP said, okay, he said, I've been here over a year. Nobody wants to listen to me. Since you have been personally affected, why don't you bring a group of women? I said, give me the list. She gave me the list. And that's how I ended up being a women's rights activist. And then they had this first conference, national conference, to look at the position of women in agriculture and education, legally everywhere, inheritance law. And then we had a military coup. And we had a coup. The Constitution was suspended. We couldn't talk about anything. So I then said, oh, so I went back asking people who know more than me. And one of the lessons I learned over the period is being able to ask questions and help. So I went back and they said, no, we can't do anything. We have to suspend everything. You know, you cannot do it under a military dictatorship. I said, what? They say, well, we have to wait and see. I said, no. So the process started of a new constitution discussion. That's how I ended up being a I shifted from being a woman rights and became an activist fighting for democracy. And I took women into the streets. During the process, I was sent to the UN to go and look at how democracy worked in the United States. I came back very inspired. So I led the campaign with other women who joined me for democracy in my country almost after 3 decades. You know, by the time I finished that, we had the first election in Sierra Leone for almost 30 years, democratic election. And I realized I can't go back to the private sector. I can't. So now it means democracy. During those discussions, I had a lot of discussion with people from England, from America, people who came supporting the war in Sierra Leone. And they said to me, you know, democracy is a process, it's not an event. You can have the election, but remember, you've been an undemocratic and under military government, one-party dictatorship for over 3 decades. You need to work to consolidate this democracy, to make it sustainable. So I gave up my insurance job. I started an NGO, Campaign for Good Governance, to fight for good governance in my country. So every turn of my life, when I meet challenges, I try to address them. I never run away from problems.
Mm.
And each one, the previous one prepares me for the next one. So those are the difficulties. And of course, when I was in civil society, I was running the biggest NGO, human rights, documenting atrocities. And then I realized that as an NGO, you make recommendations to governments. They accept, they don't accept. They control the purse. They make the policies. They make the laws. As an NGO, all you can do is advocate. That's
Yes.
when I moved the transition from being a civil society to become a politician.
And then as a politician, you had more power, I guess, to progress the democracy and to make the decisions. So that's a really interesting career so far at that point. Corporate activist, politician, and now global leader at the UN. The power of your voice seems to be what's making a difference. And sometimes you have been the only voice to break through war, conflict, and for democracy. So how do you maintain the courage, energy, and optimism even when you're under personal attack?
I never waver. My convictions are very strong. And when I was special representative of the Secretary General on conflict-related sexual violence, a lot of the time when I talk, people say I talk with a passion. Whatever I do it because I believe in it. So like you saw when I was telling my history, you know, I was disadvantaged. My mother died. I decided to take it on because I thought this was unfair. Then I realized the constitution was suspended. So now I have to fight for democracy because I'm still a woman, so I believe in it. And so I never waver. I have been very consistent, very determined, because I always believe in what I'm doing. So when I stand there, when I'm doing my things, I don't see myself as a woman. I see myself as a human being, you know, that believes in something. And my convictions are very strong. And so that's why. So I never hesitate because I don't go into something that I don't have that passion for. And I always want to make sure I know the stories behind. This is something that one way or the other has affected me. I can explain it. You know, and for example, when I took this job. I came here on the 7th of October, 2020. And then end of February, March, COVID came. And dealing with that was very challenging. But because I was a minister of health in Sierra Leone, I deal with cholera. And Ebola, I just left and joined the UN in New York when Ebola came. So I was still involved in my government's effort to fight Ebola. So I have an history. So I took it on and ran with it because I had the experience of being a minister of health. And this is an health issue. And also during that course of time, I realized women were not participating. And what had happened was the domestic violence had increased over 40%. Women, most of the women in the UN, their children were going to private schools. And this private school had distant learning. Everybody was home. So the woman became overburdened, you know, because she had to make the children join distant learning. And you know, children 4, 5, 6, you have to put them down. Their concentration span is very limited. In class, the teachers are trained. But then when they're sitting in the force of computer, it's a new technology. So they get bored easily. They become plain, especially if the teacher is not there to. So I found that our women were getting absent from participating in their work. And I had to have a meeting with the women. I called the women and had a meeting with them. And one of the things that came out very clearly was the abuse. So I took my time to explain to those women what I went through. Even when I was in a minister of foreign affairs, I went through an abusive relationship and I handled it. And what's happened I told them I had a mental breakdown, the most senior woman in government. So I shared my experience with them. I mean, that's change. Women started calling me, thanking me. And then, of course, as a leader, I then made sure we increased the number of counselors in the UN in Kenya, so that these women could have somewhere they could go and talk to. But you know, women whose husband are in the office, are also in the UN, I tell them, if he attacks you at 2 a.m., call me. I gave them their number. And those women called me. We cried together. So I think for me, that's what leadership is, because I try to make sure what I do it with all my heart.
Mm.
Where I can't have the ability, I ask for help.
And if you're not passionate about it, you don't always go there. So it's the passion to actually make it
Yes.
happen.
You have belief in it, yes.
Absolutely. So when I first had a conversation with you, I remember vividly that you said, poverty is the worst form of human rights violation. You've grown up, as you described it at the time, in abject poverty. How does it continue to influence how you lead in this role as Director General of the UN in Nairobi? And what legacy are you keen to leave as a result of this work and perhaps those that preceded? What legacy are you looking for?
As I mentioned to you, poverty is the worst form of human rights violation because when you're poor, you don't have a face. You are a statistics.
Mm.
You know, your pain that you go through, nobody feels it. People make decisions for you. They don't ask you what is it you want. You know, you never. So you rather accept what is being given to you. And one of the things I always say to my staff when we talk, I say to them, if you don't tell people what you want, they'll give you what they think you want. And invariably, that might not be what you want. And interestingly, when we did the staff survey, the whole UN system, our duty station had the highest response because I made them believe your voice matters. So when I deal with people, I let them know I see them, I hear them, I hear the unspoken words. I just don't listen to what they're telling me. I try to listen what they have not told me because they might be hesitant. And I try to bring it out of them. I try to sense their fear. It's always not easy because if you are in the bottom of the ladder, you don't think you matter. It's been created that sensitivity in you. So I get people to understand, I feel their pain. And most important, I talk to them. I listen to them. I come to work in the office. You know, I see the security women standing. I talk to her. How are you? Do you have children? How many children do you have? Are they going to school? How are they doing? So I know about their life. And you can see their face, how it brightens when you spend that 5 minutes, 10 minutes just talking to her. And as soon as they start talking about their family or their life, they change. You see the face, the shine comes on their face. And I try to inspire them to say, there's nothing that is not possible. You can do it. You know, I give them confidence in what they're doing. You know, I meet people in restaurants. I say, I like women. I say, I like your lipstick. You're so nice. I like the way you're dressing. You give them a sense of confidence so they understand what they're doing is right, so that they don't become statistic. You know, I take lunch with different people. I take tea break with different people. And they say, I never imagined I'll sit with the digit. I said, no. What is it? Also, no. I can't say, let's put it. So because my mother taught me that you should always try to put yourself in the other person's position. That's the only way you can deal with people, when you understand who they are. And for me, luckily, I've grown up, so I understand the time I was just a statistics, the time I was ignored, how I felt, how humiliated. And so throughout my career, be it staff, be it government ministers that I've worked with, when I talk to them, I talk to them the way I would have wanted somebody to talk to me. The nuances, the sensitivity. So I listen to them. I listen more than I talk, you know, so that at the end of the day, I give them an opportunity to understand. Because sometimes what people need, so many places. I remember I went to Colombia and we had this rape victim, this women. I had lunch with them. They came. I invited them for lunch. I wanted to talk to them. And they sat down and they started talking. I kept quiet. As they were talking, they were crying. And I was crying. I was listening to them. I was crying. They were crying. They spoke for like 30 minutes to 1 hour. And when they finished, they said, thank you very much for listening. They felt somebody had the patience to listen to them, which means you can understand. And I cried with them. And so that has always been, because at the end of the day, People need to understand that you see them, you understand them, you appreciate them. So sometimes I walk in my corridors here down and I meet a security, somebody say, "Oh, Madam DG, thank you very much for your leadership. We're so proud of you." And I hug them, I embrace them, and we move. It's happened so many times. Whether they're young girls, they say, "Oh, can you be a mentor?" My staff gets angry with me because you see all these young people, you go to a meeting, they all come, they want to take a picture with you, they want to talk to you, they want to ask you question, And I said, "Okay, can I have coffee with you?" I'm always open because I think you have to give hope. You have to inspire people. And you have to let people know if you can do it, so they can do it. So that fire you have to put in them to fight much harder, to know that there's no limitation in front of them. The only limitation is their doubts.
And that's the heart of it, isn't it? For all people, but particularly women and girls, is to overcome this self-doubt and know that they're worthy. And as you talk, I'm hearing respect. I think I'm hearing that one of the most important pieces here is respect, respecting the people by listening to them. And the storytelling and the sharing of stories is so important, which is what we're doing today, sharing your
Yes.
story and your views. So it's really so important, isn't it? So we all know that we're a long way from that golden piece of gender equality across the world and in most of our countries. It's not been achieved. And we sort of feel we're going a bit backwards at the moment in various parts of the world. Well, I do anyway. So, what's your view or observations about how do we escalate the progress towards it? And what could we do as individuals or as collectives that might get us there a little bit faster? Have you got some observations from throughout your life and your current work?
I say, this is not a one-off game. This is not a one route journey. It's also about power. The men have been in control, and being in control means they control the resources, they control the space and everything. So I think it is important we really understand and fight it from a very holistic way, right from the bottom. I tell you, I have a son. And most people, when I was going through, as I mentioned to you, I went through, my husband loved me. But it's a generation. He was much older, over 20 years older than me. He was not able to handle the person I became because he met that young little girl, and all of a sudden it's like a flower bloom beyond his imagination. So after the state of shock and denial, then he had the anger, and of course the anger came with the abuse.
Yes.
But throughout that journey, I made sure my son was aware. He knew the pain I was going through, but I never separated him from his father. I said, "This is my problem, but you need to understand it. Your father is your father. We have different relationship. He is your father. He's my husband." But I taught him to understand this is wrong. I cried with him. I made him understand the pain, the struggle. I always talk to him, explain to him. And now, and because of that, he grew up. He said to me, say, "Mommy, I will not treat my wife the way my father treated you." He said it's not possible. So he got married, and he's more a family person. He adores his wife. So right from the home, we women, my husband was fighting. You can't take him to the kitchen. Of course, I couldn't learn him to cook because my father, but my discussion with him helped me to deal with him psychologically. Because physically, my husband refused. You can't go to the kitchen. You can't get him to cook. I think we stand from the family. We stand from our communities, because in the fact that I have authority in my community, I made it very clear. Even, for example, one of the issues I fought for was FGM, and I made sure not my daughter, I have adopted daughter, not my nieces, everybody that is related with me, forget it. And my aunts who were doing the operation, I engaged them. I engaged the traditional leader to put things in place. So everywhere we find ourselves, we talk to ourselves, but we have to get the men. So when I talked to men when I was doing gender, I said, imagine this is your wife. I had to talk to one of the leaders when I was doing sexual violence. And this is in one of the countries I worked to. And this was a leader who refused to talk on the issues. He refused to engage it. After I did my research, he has daughters. He has a twin sister. So my first meeting when I had with him, I said, look at these women as your sisters. Look at your daughter. How do you feel if your daughter was abused? These women in this country look up to you as the father. So we don't confront, we engage. We get them to understand the consequences of it. Because whether you like it or not, it's in their DNA. You know, now I go, when I go to the safaris, I mean, I give you jokes, the animal kingdom, the lion doesn't hunt. The lioness hunts and gives him, and he eats the best part. When he finishes, she eats. So you have to understand it's the DNA of men, whether they are animals or they're human. You know, the elephant is an absentee father. He breeds, he disappears. He doesn't come back. He's going to alpha. You see the lion, you go to the Masai Mara, these places, you see one big lion walking on his own, is a male. So we cannot do it on our own. The world is held by both of us, the men and the women. I say we're like the two sides of a bicycle. So we talk to ourselves a lot of the time, but we also have to get the men involved wherever we are. In political, I fought with my president when I was a minister, and I told him what it is. I appointed women ambassador. He was very angry. He would get angry and walk out. I said, thank you very much. You know, I don't have apologies when I go to meetings and it's dominated. Yesterday, I was at a reception, and then I turned out the chair I was sitting. There are so many men, and one of the senior men said, so he said, but this chair, they are only all women. I said, of course. What do you want? I said, we're sitting here. You know, so we know that it's a power game. It controls our life. It has cultural implication. It has religious. People use the religion, all sorts of things. So we have to look at it in that angle. We can pass all the laws we want. The good thing is within the UN, we've passed so many laws, resolution. Now, how do we take those resolutions and turn them to solution on the ground? We need to work more on it on the ground. So it's a long journey. It's not easy, but we'll have to fight it. When I joined the UN here, I brought women. I have a network of women leaders. I put them together, you know, and we try to do whatever we can to support the women. Recently I discovered a group at one of the university. They are talking about there's a lot of femicide, a lot of abuse on women. So I've asked my lady for gender to go and meet them, and I've decided I'm going to support them to work with them. So I use my voice and my face. It's, you know, I use it to give support to other women's group. So when you need me, let me know. I told them I can't give you resources, but I can give you my voice and my face. And that is very important.
And your passion. And your passion. So as we start to head towards closing this amazing conversation today, what do you do to relax and recharge and to maintain some balance in your life?
You know, my favorite hobby is cooking. I like to cook. So everybody, I cook a lot. I invite people in the house. I always like to cook and bring guests. Anybody comes to the house, I do cooking. So I like cooking and I try different cuisine. Even though my husband at one time saying that my cuisines are horrible, and my son, imagine I spend my house with two men, my son, and they look at me and they said, your cuisine is horrible. It's not too much time. But I like cooking. You know, because, you know, it takes you out from the wall and you just focus on that. I also like to read. I buy books all the time. I never finish them, I have to be honest with you, because if I'm traveling, I buy it, I read it, I put it. But I always like to read. I have a book in my car. So every opportunity I read. I'm a very inquisitive person because I believe the world is a classroom. You learn from the day you're born until the day you die. So I don't only read books, I read things that will make a difference in my life. So it's not only books, you know. So I join apps that actually help me to understand certain things, because, you know, the world is big. You are in a position where you are required to participate in so many things. But what I have most recently, I take time for myself. I'm in Kenya where you have a very, so I say, okay, Easter weekend, let me go somewhere where I can watch the animals. I can take a walk in the morning. I come all by myself. So that's me time. I've learned to get it. I go to the beach. I found a place that is beach. The water is over there outside. I lie down. I walk in I don't swim, but I walk in the water. I come back. So I find that time to calm myself down. The same thing when I travel. I try to travel and stay somewhere, Airbnb, and just stay and cook, love cooking, and then eat and sleep and eat. So I know when my body tells me you need to calm down, and
Yep.
I find
It's
that
time
time.
to it's time
Yes.
to just take a slow pace. So, well, almost my last question of you today is: so, what are your 2 or 3 greatest leadership gifts?
For me, I think one of the best things I always say to people is knowing my strength and my weaknesses. I tell people I don't have although I've got like 5 honorary PhDs, from Oxford, Aberdeen, so many university, but knowing what I can do, what I cannot do. That's one I know it, and it's like my creed. And when areas where I'm weak, when I'm given the opportunity to hire people, I hire people who complement me. I don't hire people who have my strength. I hire people who have strength in where I am weak. And I appreciate them. I build a strong team around me with people with different strength and weaknesses. So I don't look on people's weaknesses. I don't. When I know you're weak in this area, I try to talk to you about the things that you're good in, how that can help you, what a difference it make. By so doing, I believe that your weakness will come down. I don't use you on areas you're weak. I don't, because I exposed you. I bring up your vulnerability and it affects your self-confidence. But when you use them in the areas where they're strong and you recognize that, you praise them, you work with them, I don't take credit for everything. When we succeed in doing something, because already I'm in this position where I am, I don't need accolades. So I let people know it couldn't have happened without 1, 2, 3. This person did, this person did, and I thank them in front of everybody. I recognize them when they contribute, and I make them know how valuable they are in my team. That way, it gives them a lot of self-confidence. It shows appreciation and respect. And I believe loyalty is not something you buy, you earn it. You earn it when you respect people, when they see that you are not selfish, that you are helping them to grow.
Yep.
Because when you put them in a team with a different strength, you put the problem in the middle of that relationship. Everybody brings their strength, and you found out that you can solve it faster. And everybody feels a part of it. And they feel wanted, they feel appreciated, and they work with you because it doesn't matter what you do. When you make people feel good, they always remember it.
They do indeed.
Mhm.
2 or 3 words. What's your final message to everyone watching or listening today?
We live in a world that seems to have lost its soul. We lost the humanity in us, the the compassion, the humility, the empathy. What I found very difficult to 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 deal with is man humanity against man. How the length we go to destroy other people, or how much we hate other people because they are different from us. I have traveled to about 87 countries. We are all human. Whether you take it from the religious aspect, it doesn't matter whether they are Christian or Muslim, we worship the same God. So we make the differences. When we look at, I say to myself, God loves diversity. Look at the human species. See how different we are, the Asian, the American. Go to the animal kingdom. It's even more diverse, from the rats to the elephants, the lion, the snakes, all. You go to the plants. What does that tell you? It tells you that the God that created the universe loves diversity, because diversity is strength. We all have different strengths. So why don't we just respect each other? I don't care whether you are Muslim or you're Christian, you're white, but we're human. We have feelings. I have to respect you for who you are. You are human. That's what I need to, yeah, that's what I need to respect you for. The rest is your business. Why should I judge you? I have no rights to judge who you are. You know, I have no rights. I don't even know the way I'm living or my religion I'm worshiping is the right one. But it's faith, because I was born in that religion. I'm a woman, I'm an African, so I take it. So why should I think I'm better than you? I just have to respect you for who you are, your beliefs. If you are wrong, let God punish you. It's not for me to pass judgment on you. So it's very sad how the world has divided us, the animosity, the anger, the greed, you know, and the length to which we go to destroy other people, the loss of conscience. It's as if we as human beings seem to have, the world has lost its soul. You know, we're almost living like an animal kingdom. The fittest of the strongest. If you can't destroy the other people, destroy them. But then we were created different. That's why we were created as human. So for me, I just want people to, how can we go back to being human beings? Respecting each other, living together in harmony, understanding that we're unique. We're all different. And that difference is what is unique about us.
You said at the beginning you hoped your conversation would inspire people. I'm inspired, Zainab. It's been an absolute privilege to get to know you and to have you in conversation today. Zontra International thanks you for your time and generosity.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. I also enjoyed it. Thank you very much.